If you're feeling like you're stuck in a life that you've carefully built, checking the boxes, doing everything right, yet wondering if this is it, you've hit the invisible ceiling of your current identity. And you're not stuck because you lack discipline or willpower, but you're stuck because your self-concept has become a cage rather than a launching pad. Today, we're going to shatter that ceiling. This isn't about small changes, but it's about identity shifts. It's an identity evolution, if you will. And it's about building a future that pulls you forward rather than a past that holds you back. Listen, here's what nobody is telling you. Most people are operating from an identity formed by necessity, not design. An identity shaped by early survival mechanisms, cultural programming, and other people's expectations. Now, this isn't your fault, but it is your responsibility to change it. Because if you want a life that you can call your own, if you want to create what you truly want, you need to start to shift the way you think about yourself. I talk to women all the time who, on paper, have a perfect life, an executive position, a beautiful home, a supportive partner. And maybe you've climbed every ladder that was put in front of you. Maybe you've just done all of the things. But yet, maybe you find yourself sitting in a car in the parking garage, unable to go into the office, feeling this inexplicable hollowness. You are suffering inside a life that you have outgrown. You've probably been the achiever. You've been the responsible one, the person who has it all together. But maybe you can't hear your own voice anymore. Your identity has become a fortress, keeping you safe, but keeping you playing small. Think of it like this. If you've been driving the same reliable car for years, it gets you where you need to go. It's comfortable, but then all of a sudden one day you realize that you've only been taking routes that this car can handle. You've been avoiding the mountain passes, the off-road adventures, the cross-country journey your soul is craving. Not because you don't want to go there, but because you've convinced yourself that's not my kind of vehicle. That's what happens when you've outgrown your identity, but you're still living within its constraints. You've normalized playing small. You've rationalized settling for less. You've mastered the art of self-betrayal. And every time you feel that pull towards something greater, that programmed voice asks, who do you think you are? So instead of expansion, you choose safety. Instead of possibility, you choose practicality. You shrink yourself and your dreams to match your outdated self-concept. This isn't just stagnation, it's regression. Because life doesn't pause while you play it safe. So either you're growing or you're dying. There is no middle ground. Now, the solution isn't doing more. You've done all the things, you've tried it before. It's about becoming more. You cannot create a new future from your old identity. This isn't about adding habits, it's about identity transformation. Think of it like this. When a caterpillar enters its chrysalis, it doesn't just grow wings on its caterpillar body. It actually liquefies completely before reconstructing itself as a butterfly. There's no incremental path from caterpillar to butterfly. There's only transformation. So that's what we're talking about here. It's not just getting better at who you are, but fundamentally reshaping who you are. Instead of setting goals based on incremental improvements to who you are now, you need to reverse engineer from who you must become. I had a client, we'll call her Rebecca, who spent years trying to launch her business on the side while maintaining her corporate job. She was approaching it as current Rebecca with a side business. She made minimal progress for 3 years. And then we shifted. She started making decisions as Rebecca, the successful founder. And this wasn't just in her business, but in everything. Within 6 months, her business replaced her corporate income. And this is the paradigm shift. Stop being the person who's trying to achieve the goal. Become the person who already has. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't a matter of tactics. It's a matter of identity. Bridge that gap and everything changes. So, the first step is to destroy your upper limits. Mediocre goals create mediocre results, period. Your vision needs to excite you and scare you simultaneously. It's not about being terrified, but you want some of that nervous energy. If it doesn't cause some physical discomfort, if your body doesn't sort of resist it, it's not big enough. We want to destroy your upper limits. Mediocre goals create mediocre results, period. Your vision needs to challenge and excite you all at the same time. If it doesn't create a physical response, if your body doesn't react to it, it's not big enough. Think about it like this. When an athlete pushes past their previous limitations, there's resistance, there's discomfort. That's not a warning sign. It's a sensation of growth. It's the feeling of your comfort zone expanding to accommodate your potential. And that's what that step feels like. It should move you deeply. So ask yourself, what would I pursue if failure wasn't possible? Now double it. This isn't delusional thinking. This is understanding that your potential is vastly greater than your current perception of it. Next, you want to engineer your future identity. Your future self shouldn't be some vague concept. It should be a specific identity with precise attributes. Imagine walking into a tailor for a custom suit. They don't just ask if you want something nice or professional. They take exact measurements. They ask about fabric preferences, cut, occasion, and how you'll move in it. That's the level of specificity we want here. What decisions do you make? What thoughts do they entertain? What environments do they create? What boundaries do they maintain? I had a client who wanted to become a published author. But rather than focusing on writing more, we created her identity as an author in painstaking detail. How did Sarah, the author, structure her mornings? What was on her bookshelf? How did she introduce herself at parties? What did her workspace look like? Once this identity was crystal clear, she started living as if she was already this person. 6 months later, she had a book deal. Not because she followed some writing formula, but because she became someone who couldn't not write the book. Document this identity in explicit detail, not as an aspiration, but as a blueprint. Then step into that identity, not gradually, not eventually, but immediately. The gap between knowing and doing is where potential dies. Next, you want to create irreversible momentum. Alignment isn't optional, it's everything. Think of it like a river changing course. It doesn't happen through force of will. It happens by changing the landscape so completely that the water has no choice but to flow in a new direction. Your new identity requires new environments, new relationships, new challenges. Create conditions where regression isn't possible. I went through and removed some furniture, some clothing, makeup, jewelry, shoes, jackets, books, things that represented my old self. I replaced photos that I didn't like the look of, I didn't like the way I was presented in it. And these just aren't cosmetic changes, but they are environmental realignments that made it harder to fall back into old patterns and easier to embody my new identity. Every action either reinforces your future self or your past self. Every relationship either elevates you or anchors you. Every environment either empowers your evolution or preserves your limitations. Identity transformation without environmental transformation is merely fantasy. So, when you shift from problem solving to identity evolution, you stop living by default and start living by design. I'll never forget working with Elena, a woman who had spent decades dimming her light to keep others comfortable. She came to our first session speaking so softly, I could barely hear her. But 6 months later, with this identity work, she was able to walk into a room of executives, commanded their full attention, and secured the largest client her company had ever seen. When I asked her what had changed, she said, "I used to prepare for meetings by rehearsing what to say. Now I prepare by remembering who I am." And that's the transformation that we're talking about here. You stop seeking permission and start creating precedent. The hesitation that once paralyzed you becomes irrelevant because you're no longer the person who hesitates. It's like learning to swim. At first, there's fear, resistance, the feeling like you might sink. But once you know how to swim, once it's integrated into who you are, you don't stand at the edge of the pool calculating how to move your arms. You simply dive in. You develop a relationship with discomfort that transforms it from adversary to ally. The discomfort is going to be part of the journey. And people just won't notice the change. They'll feel it. Your clarity will become contagious and your conviction will become compelling. I received a message last week from one of my clients' husband that said, "I don't know exactly what happened in your work together, but my wife walks differently now. She speaks differently, and the room feels different when she's in it." And this is what I talk about when I tell my clients your energy will shift. It shifts. And this is in every area of your life. The version of yourself you've envisioned isn't separate from you. They're not waiting in some distant future. They're waiting for you to claim them now. Possibility isn't something you earn through perfect performance. It's something you seize through audacious decision. Your limitations aren't real. They're invented. They are a construct. And what's invented can be reinvented. The question isn't whether transformation is possible. The question is whether you're willing to become the person capable of claiming it. So, this is the work that we do in coaching. This is how we transform lives. This is what's possible for you. If you're interested in learning more, you can book a discovery call with me and let's talk. Let's talk about what's holding you back. Let's talk about where you want to go and who you want to become. The link to my calendar will be in the show notes. And if this video resonated, don't just consume, commit. Please subscribe, like, share this video, and remember, information without implementation is just entertainment. Choose transformation. I'll see you next time.